Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive game to share with you from round 4 of the Superbet Chess Classic Romania. On the white end, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, playing against our current world champion, Gukesh D. Opening-wise, we are looking at a Scotch, and the variation we work with after bishop c5, knight b3. This here signals the Potter variation. Targeting the bishop, falls back, knight c3, and from here queen f6. Don't be tempted by a fork. There is a mate in one threat, scholar's mate style. Black ready to checkmate white. That is covered. Queen stays clear of the dark square bishop. White is leaning towards queenside castles. Has this half open d file, the rook will be immediately productive. All right, black now covers the d5 square. From here, bishop e3, and black at this stage castles. Now, castles is most popular, but it's not best. The computer has its eye on d6 instead. I'm going to throw some stats your way. We're not working with the greatest sample size here, I realize. In the Lichess Masters database, castles is played here 50 times, and white wins 50% of the time, black 28%. Compare that with d6, an even smaller sample size, 18 games in there. White wins 33% of the time, black still at that 28% mark. So take that for what it's worth. It does give us some insight here. How does the computer want to play it? Why doesn't the computer want to go with kingside castles? What does it have its eye on exactly? I'll put on a few moves. It wants to go queenside castles, a same sides castles game. We'll see a downside with declaring the king there, parking the king on the king side. If you're curious, by the way, with this bishop move, seems conservative here, just a single step. Why not go to e6 instead? It seems more active. It's because of this knight d5 move. Black always wants to be in a spot to meet that with knight captures knight, but you can't here because there's a follow-up recapture and a fork. Anyhow, computer wants to bring it to a same sides castles game. All right, how it is played in this one. Black at this stage goes kingside, white queenside, opposite sides castles game ahead. d6 only now. Some room for the bishop to play. Hops to b5 right now. Queen g6, and here we go. Just the perfect idea at this stage. Launching Harry the h-pawn. This is going to cause some concession in black's camp, however you look at it. h5, this happens really fast, by the way. h5 with tempo, h6, and that pawn will forever be a thorn in black's side. What is black supposed to do about this idea? In the game, black carries on with f5. That was the idea. With this queen move to g6, clear the way for this pawn break. Computer doesn't like that idea. It suggests bishop captures bishop with then h5 or h5 straight away. So even in the case of this top idea to hold up Harry, there's something that white can bite at some stage. So there's a pawn break here with g4 cracking open a line. Also, with h5 in, f5 now carries pretty big weakness. g5 would be a real sore spot for black. Bishop could be parked there. So there's a drawback however you slice it with this h-pawn now rolling. It will be a disruptor to black. Gukesh's move here, f5. H-pawn continues to run. h5 with tempo, h6, h-file remains shut. But let's just pause here. 14 moves in, something has clearly gone wrong for black. How do we know that? Here the h-pawn. This is a big issue. I really can't emphasize this enough because there hasn't been a single piece exchange, and to have this structure on board, opposite sides castles game, you are just asking for trouble. It's a superior structure here for white. Black will soon find it very difficult to find productive moves for the pieces. Bad structure, bad pieces, bad game, that's commonplace. Where do we go from here? Bishop g5, a6. Computer says back off with the bishop here, go back home, go to a4. Not very human to play in this way. We have a forceful continuation, a chop on c6, followed up with a knight drop in the center. Possible check here on f6, that knight is swiped immediately. Structure now changing a little bit, completely open file. The knight occupies a good square, but this is about the only good thing for black, and that's just not going to cut it. Possible jump here on c4, forget about it. Nice rook lift here. Nice benefit of this h-pawn running down here. A rook lift is available. Follow up from here, rook f to e8, f3, controlling any knight jump there to g4. I did stumble upon an interesting tactical sequence here. If instead of this move, the knight went into g4, I'm going to be highlighting a very computer-like line here shortly. If knight g4, this pressure on f2, black better have a good answer to f3 here, otherwise, I mean, why'd you even go to g4 in the first place if you're just undoing your move? Computer points out you could play rook a to e8 here. This is computer chess here. In the case of pawn takes, knight f4 is there. Cutting off the bishop from its defensive e3, you're ready to win the queen. And if you're out of that, there's also this idea, rook e5 and the bishop is trapped. Who saw that one coming? Yeah, computer chess there. Black does not play knight to g4. It's rook f to e8, f3, forget about the jump now. Bishop to a7. Black's next two moves, it's a clear sign, difficult position. He plays bishop a7, and after king b1, the bishop now returns to b6, just undoing the last move. Now, how the computer wants to play it here, even with best play, it's still a struggle for black. This is what it has its eye on. b5, it would be a consistent follow-up to bishop a7. That is a new move that is available. In the case of b5, here's how white can play. Knight a5, cutting out the jump here on c4. Bishop b6. b3 is there, preventing the forward knight move. It calls this close to +1, still a difficult road ahead here for black. It's looking at some slower moves here to improve, and then an eventual knight jump into c6, opening up the position. A new diagonal would open up towards the more vulnerable king. Okay, how does black play it here? Bishop back to b6. From here, knight a5, and a lashing out type move here with c5. This is now completely lost for black. The alternative, I mean, what do you do here? Computer says best is to allocate the rook to the defense of the pawn. Not comfortable. Minor piece, putting pressure on a pawn. Major, defending. That's an inconvenience for black. Anything else? If you chop the knight here instead, I mean, the queen is a very active piece now. Pressure on something, c7 pawn. Forget about trying to reroute the knight to a different square. Pressure on c7, restriction on the queen here. Maybe start poking around at these pawns here. Tough road ahead here for black. Okay, how it is played here after knight a5. We see c5. Position now opens up. And d takes c en passant. Pawn takes, queen c3. Bishop c5. Rook swings over to the queen side. And we sneak in the flight square. Rook a7. Bishop f4, challenging black's, I guess, best piece. Queen b6, knight b3, and there's just not a good answer at this stage. This point is going to collapse shortly. Knight could fall at any moment. If the bishop moves, okay, I mean, what are you even doing if you move the bishop? d6 is going to fall. If you try to maintain control over c5, let's say moving the knight, hang on. We connect here with Harry. We have a checkmate, just like that. So this is going to collapse. From here, it's a5, knight takes bishop, queen exchange, and just one more move, 31, rook e1, and black resigns. There isn't a good response here to this pin. There's not a knight move that will defend this rook. They're on different colored squares. So if the game continued, you would have to play this, and white has a healthy pick here. Collect the a-pawn now, or first chop away on e5, and only then take on a5 and play the single rook ending where you're up a big pawn, the a-pawn that is passed. So the game simply doesn't continue from here. Black resigns. So a pretty smooth win here. King on the king side, the launching of that pawn, very strong idea out of this Potter variation. Anyhow, what are your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.